After sacrificing himself to save his son and bring balance to the Force, Anakin Skywalker returned to the light side and died as his life support armor was destroyed beyond repair. After his death, very few in the galaxy would ever know what really happened to Anakin after the Clone Wars, and even fewer knew that he had truly become Darth Vader before dying as a Jedi. The legacy of Vader endured through Imperial loyalists and Sith cultists, yet Luke Skywalker did his best to carry his father's legacy as a tale of hope for future Jedi Knights. But what if things happened differently? What if Anakin didn't die from the injuries he sustained from Palpatine's lightning? What if Luke brought him to the surface of Endor and he was taken into custody by the rebels? How would the fledgling New Republic punish Darth Vader for his crimes? And what would Luke and Leia do, given their generally opposite feelings towards their birth father? Anakin surviving the events of Return of the Jedi has briefly been shown in the comic Star Wars Infinities, but today I wanted to try my hand at writing a new fanfiction, giving my take on what would happen if the redeemed Anakin Skywalker had to face a New Republic trial. I hope you enjoy it. Coruscant, 6 months after the Battle of Endor. The galaxy was in disarray. An empire toppled but not destroyed. A new republic suffocating before it could even take its first breaths. Yet for all the turmoil still engulfing the galaxy, nothing could compare to the trial that was about to begin. Mon Mothma sat in her office, or rather in the podium that had not yet risen to the Senate floor that resided above. So much to be done, and it seemed every task she completed was replaced by 10 new ones. Though they had not yet held an official election, mostly because no one even knew if their government would still exist every day after the next, Mon had found herself placed into a temporary, unofficial role as Supreme Chancellor of the New Republic. Whether that title even meant anything yet, she did not know. She glanced down at the datapad in her lap, not that it held any information she did not already know. Luke Skywalker, the self-proclaimed Jedi Knight and commander of the Rebel Alliance, had returned to the surface of Endor in an Imperial shuttle. Accompanying him was Darth Vader, the dreaded warrior that had imposed the Emperor's reign on poor souls across the galaxy for over 2 decades. Vader was nearly dead, his strange mechanical suit of life support armor almost destroyed. Apparently, the rebel soldiers that responded to Skywalker's radio hails were so shocked to see Vader that they all froze at the same instant. Skywalker was said to have slowly approached them, standing between the soldiers and Vader as if to form a shield with his own body, and asked them to be calm. The soldiers stated in their reports that Skywalker seemed almost protective of Vader, though they could not understand why, as every one of them had wanted to blast Vader to bits on the spot. Mon still found it hard to believe that they had taken Vader into custody without incident at Skywalker's request. She remembered hearing about Jedi mind tricks, and wondered if it was something Luke had become skilled in. Vader had said nothing when he was taken prisoner. The only sound came from the respirator in his armor, laboring to keep his body alive. After that, Luke had hardly said anything either, except that he wished to report directly to Mon Mothma as soon as possible, and would only speak to Leia Organa otherwise. The next day, as Vader was held in the medical facility of a calamari cruiser under armed guard, still silent in his weakened state, Luke and Leia had revealed a substantial amount of shocking information to Mon. Not only were they brother and sister, but Padme Amidala was their birth mother, having secretly produced twins with the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. Anakin had become Darth Vader in service to Palpatine, and something happened to him after the Empire rose that placed him in that black armored prison for the rest of his life. Mon could hardly believe it, but she knew that neither of them would lie to her, Leia being a trusted ally for many years, and Luke being a Jedi. According to Luke, Leia had gone staunchly quiet. Vader was destroyed above Endor. Anakin Skywalker returned to the light side of the Force and killed the Emperor. Luke understood that the New Republic would seek to charge Darth Vader for his crimes and display his trial for all of the galaxy to see. The only problem was, Darth Vader did not exist anymore. Mon could hardly understand what he meant by that. Which brought her to today, about to enter the Senate arena where the trial of Darth Vader would begin, using the largest place possible to ensure maximum publicity. However, only she, Leia, and Luke knew what was truly about to come next. Luke stood in the threshold of where the Senate pod docked and met the hallway. Leia sat nearby, and he noticed her eyes were closed as if she was doing the same. Though she had not been formally trained to use the Force, Leia was still incredibly powerful due to their heritage, and he knew that she could feel its power too. The entire Senate arena was full, every pod packed with senators, reporters, lawyers, anyone who wanted a piece of the trial. Luke clasped his hands under his cloak and continued his meditative exercises, and he found himself so enraptured in the Force that before he knew it, it was his turn to address the galaxy on behalf of Darth Vader. Surely everyone watching was confused as to why the last Jedi Knight would want to speak at the trial of a Sith Lord, but Luke told himself that they were about to find out. What would happen afterward was anyone's guess. Their pod slowly detached and floated out into the center of the gargantuan arena. Luke tried to maintain a calm, poised expression as the entire galaxy, watching either in person or over the HoloNet, set their eyes on him. Mon Mothma, in her central Chancellor's pod, looked over at him, the lines of worry clearly etched on her otherwise calm face. "Esteemed delegates and representatives of our new republic," Luke began, his voice artificially amplified so that it boomed throughout the arena. "My name is Luke Skywalker. I am a Jedi Knight." Luke knew that last part was probably unnecessary, but in truth he had received very informal Jedi training, and he had never been told how a Jedi should handle themselves in political situations, so he thought he would just do what seemed rational, which was ironic, he thought, considering what he was about to tell the galaxy. "It has been many years since the Jedi have graced these halls," Luke said. "Such was the result of the Emperor's schemes and machinations at the end of the Clone Wars. The Jedi were framed as traitors and all but destroyed as the Galactic Empire rose up around their corpses. As such, the citizens of our Republic know very little of the Jedi or the Force, as the histories were repressed for generations under Imperial rule. Allow me to provide a brief explanation. The Force exists in a natural balance, flowing through everyone and everything. The Jedi serve the light side of the Force. The Sith, and others consumed by darkness, wield the dark side of the Force, which is fueled by negative emotions." Luke paused for a beat to see if there was a general understanding of his words. He couldn't quite tell, as the overwhelming influx of thoughts and emotions gently brushed his mind through the Force. "Those who fall victim to the dark side," he continued, "their mind and body ravaged by the corruption of its dark energy, are exactly that, victims. Some may even follow the dark path for reasons they think are just and righteous. Such was the case with my father, Anakin Skywalker." A shocked collective buzz seemed to shoot through the crowd like lightning. "I'm told that during the Clone Wars, my father was regarded as the hero with no fear, the symbol of the Jedi Order, the Chosen One. Perhaps some of the older citizens remember this. You may be asking yourself what sort of relevance my statements hold in regards to Darth Vader," Luke said, and he willed himself to keep speaking. He was using all of his training just to keep from showing emotion or letting his fear take control of him. He had to trust the Force. "In 19 BBY, as the Clone Wars ended, my parents, Anakin Skywalker and Senator Padme Amidala, were thought to have been killed during the Jedi Purge. Their supposed deaths were covered up, shrouded in mystery and rumors until the galaxy forgot about them. The truth is that my mother gave birth to twins on her deathbed, whom she named Luke and Leia," Luke said. Leia still sat behind him in the pod, her face strong, her support obvious. Luke glanced over his shoulder and thought that she held herself like a true politician. The shock from the audience was palpable, but now the crowd had grown eerily quiet, desperate to hear what Luke would say next. "Leia Organa is my sister," Luke continued. "We were separated at birth for our safety, being the children of the most famous Jedi Knight in the galaxy, But the darkest truth is that our father did not die as some claimed he did. Manipulated for years and somehow twisted by Palpatine, my father became Darth Vader. Now the crowd roared, cameras flashed, every screen in the arena showed Luke's face with a picture of Vader's next to it. Mon Mothma had to call for order for nearly 5 minutes as the guards struggled to keep the entire crowd under control. Luke tried to calm himself further as multiple voices drowned each other out. Some senators called for Luke to be seized and arrested on the spot. Others declared the entire trial an outrage. Luke waited until it appeared he could continue. Above the Battle of Endor, I watched my father return to the light side of the Force and kill Palpatine. He was free from the clutches of the dark side, no longer a servant of the Emperor's will. Anakin Skywalker was redeemed. You see, this is the trial of Darth Vader, but Darth Vader does not exist anymore, Luke said. Now he simply had to speak over the crowd, and he slowly waved his hand in front of him, as if trying to wipe the floor of the arena with his palm. A deep rumble from below signaled the rise of another podium, this one occupied by Anakin Skywalker, now fully encased in a suit of white armor, a stark contrast to Vader's appearance. He was flanked by multiple Republic prison guards, and he wore handcuffs on his wrists. "I must implore this body to allow my father to speak for himself," Luke said, nearly shouting now. The pod rose to its full height and stood near Luke's. Anakin stood still, like a statue, but Luke could feel his father's power and love burning brightly in the Force, as though he was holding his hand near a fire. Leia did not look at their father. Instead, she kept her expression neutral and looked ahead. Mon Mothma could barely get the arena under control to let Anakin speak. Some in the crowd screamed and pointed and called him Vader, spewing venom with their words. It seemed an eternity passed, a cacophony of noise as every being in the arena screamed their piece. Then, suddenly, without warning, Anakin began to gently levitate himself from the pod. When the guards tried to restrain him, they found themselves gently frozen in place by some invisible force. Anakin slowly floated over until he stood with Luke and Leia inside their pod. At the unexpected display of the Force from the man they still viewed as Vader, the entire arena had gone completely silent, so quiet that only Anakin's mechanical respirator could be heard. When Anakin did speak, his dark, booming mechanical voice echoed across the arena. "For years, while a servant of darkness, I brought death and pain to countless souls across the galaxy. My own fears led me down a path that I should have been strong enough to resist," Anakin said. "It was only by the compassion of my son that I was able to break free from the dark side of the Force and strike the Emperor down. I do not seek absolution from the galaxy. I simply ask forgiveness, and I refuse to let my life end this way. I will not allow death and destruction to be the legacy I leave behind in the Force. I am not Darth Vader. Darth Vader is dead. I am Anakin Skywalker, and as a Jedi once more, I would ask the New Republic to allow me exile, where I will take the bearish vow and devote myself to serving the Force." Everyone in the Senate seemed too stunned to speak. The senators surrounding Mon Mothma did not reply at all. It was the Supreme Chancellor herself that replied, "And what is the bearish vow?" "A form of penance," Anakin answered. Jedi would take the vow and voluntarily swear off any active involvement in the affairs of the galaxy or the Jedi Order. My son carries the legacy of the Jedi forward now. I only ask that I be allowed to take the vow and spend my days in exile on Tython. Tython is the birthplace of the Jedi, Luke interjected. My father was believed by many to be the chosen one of prophecy, destined to bring balance to the Force. By destroying the Sith, including Darth Vader, some may believe he has fulfilled that prophecy. After speaking with him, we have decided that it would be best for the galaxy and for the Force if he spends the rest of his days serving the light side under the bearish vow." The deep core world of Tython, several weeks later. Sitting in deep meditation, levitating above the ground, Anakin Skywalker was nearly one with the Force, although he was still very much alive. His powers were now at their apex. He was more connected to the Force than he had ever been before. He could feel its power flowing through him and from him and back into him continuously. He could feel and hear the presence of his old masters in the Netherworld, and he could even feel the intense and burning power of Luke across the galaxy. The Jedi were not gone. The Skywalkers were not gone. For every choice, there was consequence, but for every act, there could also be redemption. The Force existed in balance, and the light side and dark side would always be present, ever pulling on the minds and spirits of Force users. It was up to Anakin now to maintain that balance. Assuming a spiritual form within the ethereal realm of Mortis, even as his physical body hovered on Tython, Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one. He would spend the rest of his life healing the wounds he had caused. The Force was with him. The end. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you liked this fan fiction. I've only made one fan fiction video before, but it's really fun to write them, and if you guys enjoy them, if it's something you want to see more of, I will definitely make more on the channel. So thank you so much, and as always, may the Force be with you.